If your team isn't using ClickUp, you're wasting time, and data proves it. 61% of knowledge workers manage work more than doing it, switching apps 1,000 times a day. That's work sprawl and costs millions. ClickUp replaces 20 apps with Convergence, uniting projects, docs, and chats, while AI super agents handle the busy work. Join 4 million teams using ClickUp to finish work 30% faster. Try it free and get 15% off AI upgrades at clickup.com/podcast. That's CLICKUP.com/podcast.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
7 things you don't really need to know, but probably should. I'm Jamie East, and this is the Sunday 7.
I'm Ciara Evans in for Jamie East this week, and on today's episode of the award-winning Sunday 7, we look at the perils of brain rot, hear about a remarkable womb transplant, and wonder how horses whinny. Plus, Will Guyatt, the Smart 7's resident tech guru, looks at Instagram's new safety features and gives us the inside track on next week's Apple announcements. If you're enjoying our episodes, please do like and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. We're here 7 days a week at 7 a.m. with the 7 biggest stories on the Smart 7 in association with Metro. Before we get started, though, it was on this day in 1970 that the first direct dial telephone service between the UK and the United States was made available to the public. The system used a combination of 5 different satellites to connect the call using microwave beam technology and was the first major intercontinental direct dial system.
7.
We've heard stories in recent weeks about medical marvels, including the story of a Spanish woman who had a successful face transplant. This week saw a historic announcement in the UK as the first womb transplant from a deceased donor led to the birth of a healthy baby boy. Professor Richard Smith, who is a consultant gynaecologist at the Imperial College Healthcare NHS Trust, has been researching womb transplantation for more than 25 years, and he's behind a clinical trial that involves 10 transplants across the UK. Grace Bell was the recipient of the womb from an organ donor, and she made her first public appearance this week with her 10-week-old son Hugo, who she describes as a miracle.
I remember not even wanting to go to baby showers and things, and that was totally on me, and I was just envious that, you know, these people could do this so naturally and I couldn't. Ultimately, the medical teams, you know, we've had the best team. I got the phone call to say, was I still interested, in which it was at a certain point that me and Steve were actually going down the surrogacy route. So it was perfect timing for us. When they said, we found you a match, that brought a lot of different emotions with it. We were hopefully finally going to have a little baby. But of course, the sadness that comes with the deceased donor transplant, of course that means that someone, another lady, would have passed away. Words can't explain, I cannot express how amazing that really is, that gift that they've given to me and that family. We think of them every day, especially when I look at little Hugo.
Hugo was born in the Queen Charlotte's and Chelsea Hospital just before Christmas, and Grace had her womb transplant in June 2024 at the Churchill Hospital in Oxford. The womb transplant operation took 10 hours and involved a large team led by transplant surgeon and joint team leader on the trial, Dr. Isabel Quiroga, who is a clinical lead for organ retrieval at the Oxford Transplant Centre. She says it's a delicate and complex procedure and that she took advice from Swedish colleagues who carried out the first womb transplant in 2014.
Well, unfortunately, I remember some years ago talking to the Swedish surgeons, and they said, oh, you know, it's like a kidney transplant, a living donor kidney transplant. Well, there's nothing like it. The vessels are extremely small, very, very small, and it's very delicate. delicate and sensitive operation. So it's just about connecting the vessel so that the organ gets the blood supply from the recipient. And then my colleague, Professor Smith, does the gynecological bit that joining the vagina. This is a high-risk pregnancy. Of course, they are immunosuppressed. We manage the immune system and they could develop any infections. This is the same for any other transplant. But of course, we don't, especially with this transplant, we don't want to let the baby be born naturally. So they have to be born by cesarean section. So the pregnancy has to be very, very closely managed.
The successful transplant followed by a successful IVF treatment and careful management of the pregnancy led to the birth of Hugo. And Professor Smith, who has worked for 25 years on this project and is founder of the charity Womb Transplant UK, says this is a moment that will give hope to women who have been told they could never have children.
This was a big event for the mum, for the huge team that we've got. This lovely baby boy is born first in the UK after deceased donation. One of the most amazing things that was said by Grace 1 was, when I was 16 and told I had no uterus, I had no hope. That no longer applies to a woman in the UK, a girl in the UK of 16, when she's told that diagnosis. It is no longer no hope. There is hope.
It's that time of the week where we catch up on the biggest tech stories with the Smart 7's tech guru Will Guyatt. And it's been quite a week, from Burger King AI to new safety policies from Instagram. So, Will, where to start? Let's talk Ofcom and their new responsibilities. The government seems determined to crack down on big tech and teens.
Oh my lord, there's literally so much to discuss this week, and I'll do my best to try and cover as much of it as I can in the next 5 minutes or so. Reddit has been fined almost 15 million quid by the Information Commissioner's Office for not properly recording data on young users, and it's also got a warning that it might also be investigated for not properly following the Online Safety Act. The same day, we heard that popular streaming services like Netflix and Prime Video will be subject to the same regulation and rules as TV and radio currently have, through the UK regulator Ofcom. The government said it was committed to keeping young people safe online, despite these new rules seemingly missing several of the largest streaming platforms, including Twitch and Kick.
How will it work if Netflix and Prime Video are global streaming platforms? Is this another case of VPNs to duck and dive?
That's a good question. I guess we're going to end up with very UK-specific versions of these platforms, which are ruled and regulated by the same watchdog that keeps its eye on the BBC. It will be interesting to see whether or not this makes the government more determined to seemingly control the use of VPNs, despite encouraging its own home workers to use them for security purposes. This whole internet thing and rights and global control is getting increasingly entangled because it ignores the fact that the internet is truly international, but legislation is only local.
How do we think big tech and Donald Trump will react?
Judging by what we've previously seen, they're going to react negatively to this, and US tech will feel they're being increasingly ruled and regulated by local rules. In the hours following this announcement of a huge fine for Reddit, we've had senators saying they should refuse to pay the fine for not protecting young people's data, and with the mood music suggesting that the US is going to attempt to penalise Europe with further insane tariffs on the basis of the region's efforts to rein in big tech with its Digital Markets Act, there's going to be a big scrap this year, and this is probably the year of big tech versus big gov.
Instagram seems to be one of the more responsible of the tech platforms, particularly when it comes to teens. What's their latest safety idea?
The company has announced its latest effort to protect young people by announcing that parents will receive a warning message if their child attempts to access self-harm or suicide content via their Instagram account. This move was widely criticised by child safety organisations in the hours following its announcement on Thursday. They were concerned that parents wouldn't know who to turn to and were convinced that Instagram was not going to be able to offer the right kind of advice to help a parent who gets shocked and alarmed by the news and doesn't know where to turn for advice. Meta themselves admitted this new warning may alarm parents, but believed it was important to protect young people. It's hard to know what to say about this. Meta are certainly trying something new and brave, but parents and safety experts clearly don't see this as a sensible move.
We're going to hear more later on about new research on the perils of short-form video, but in case people forget, it doesn't sound good, does it?
This research from Chinese academics suggests that looking at reels or shorts will negatively impact your attention span. Admittedly, this is still a small survey, but it seems to demonstrate that the more slop you watch on infinite scroll, you're going to harm your ability to self-control, and meaning you're going to watch more and more of this stuff, and the more and more of it that you watch impacts your ability to pay attention. Bad news.
And as much as we love AI in the Sunday 7, the latest AI innovation from Burger King seems a little creepy. What are they up to, Will?
We almost love a burger as much as we love AI, but I'm not entirely sure I need AI in the creation of my lunch. Burger King is testing new AI-powered headsets in the US that can recite its recipes, tell managers when items are running low, and concerningly remind staff to be nice to customers. The system is built around ChatGPT creator OpenAI's software and is called Patty, a pretty clever play on words, and a key part of your average burger. Burger King seems strangely proud to tell media that Patty was going to track employees when they say key words like welcome, please and thank you, and share these reports with their managers. But when media picked up on this creepy capability, they promised it was only going to be used as a coaching tool, not as a way of tracking individual performance. Well, let's see how long that lasts, eh? Mine's a Black Mirror burger, please, King.
Thanks, Will. And before you go, a tease for the new Apple event dropped this week. What do we think it might be?
It sounds like there's multiple Apple announcements this week as the company attempts to get multiple bites out of its latest product launches. As is typically the way, you never truly know what Apple is going to announce until it's literally in front of you. But if I was a betting man, I reckon we're going to see a new low-priced iPhone, some new iPad models, and a budget MacBook laptop that would use the processors typically used in iPhones and certain cheaper iPads. There's also a suggestion as well we're going to get new MacBook Pro models featuring the latest Apple processor named after a motorway, the M5. It looks like we're going to see these announcements over several days this week, and journalists like me will be getting to see the new products at events in London, New York and Shanghai on Wednesday, and whatever's going to be announced, it's definitely going to cost you.
Still to come on the Sunday 7, in association with Metro, we meet a tiny dinosaur and why weight loss drugs could be banned for athletes. We've just finished celebrating Team GB's record goal haul at the Winter Olympics, but there's already controversy on the way over the next Summer Olympics in 2028. They're due to take place in Los Angeles, but there's been an intriguing development involving the World Anti-Doping Agency. They announced this week that they're set to begin monitoring the use of weight loss drugs such as Wegovy and Ozempic amongst athletes, with no decision as yet on whether the jabs might be banned. Director General of the World Anti-Doping Agency, Oliver Niggli, spoke to Sky News.
That's certainly one of the criteria on the list that would be fulfilled, enhancement of performance, but you need at least another criteria to be fulfilled, either the risk for the health or the violation of the spirit of sport. We always look at least 2 out of the 3 criteria to decide whether a drug would make it to the list or not.
The drugs, which are known as semaglutides, have been shown to have a wide range of benefits apart from just weight loss, but doctors say that the drugs may also cause the loss of lean muscle, which would not improve athletes' performance. However, Kate Seary, who is an advocate for safe sports, says there is continual pressure on athletes around their weight, and that very often thin is seen as being the same as fast. The process of measuring the drug's impact will take some time, and former Chief Medical Officer for the Football Association, Ian Beasley, says athletes who are looking for an advantage will be cautious about how and when they use the medication.
If you wanted to cheat, could you take it during a closed season and then reap the benefits during the season? And how would you be able to measure that? I think these are the questions that WADA are grappling with that make life very difficult. When you're trying to look for minimal gains and try to get up to the next step, you might try it.
We've become used to the idea of giant dinosaurs roaming the earth, and a new Netflix series from Steven Spielberg uses cutting-edge animation techniques to recreate the giant beasts. But not all dinosaurs were the size of brontosauruses. There were also smaller ones, and this week saw scientists in Argentina's Patagonia region unveil one of the smallest dinosaur fossils ever found. The almost perfectly preserved fossil of a dinosaur known as Alacetri ceropolysenius, or ALNA for short, was put on display this week. The fossil, which is similar in size to a chicken, was a 4-year-old female of the species, and it was almost perfectly preserved because of the unique conditions in the Patagonia desert where sandstone formed to protect and preserve the body. Sebastian Apesteguia is a paleontologist and researcher at the Azara Foundation in Buenos Aires, and he says the variation in dinosaur size and scale is extraordinary.
Al-Nashetri was an adult dinosaur about the size of a chicken or a crow. And well, it's a small animal that shows, in that era, precisely between 90 and 100 million years ago, what we call the time of giants, the era of southern giants. Giganotosaurus lived with it. A single tooth of Giganotosaurus was almost the height of Al-Nashetri, a single tooth. That shows us it wasn't that things were bigger before, but that there was more diversity.
Still to come on the Sunday 7 in association with Metro, the dangers of brain rot, and we find out how horses whinny.
Right after this.
Pancetta, mushroom, tortellini. You can eat smart, still fit in your bikini. I ordered Blue Apron, I've been happy ever since. They sent pre-portioned meals, I don't make no measurements. Saute the pancetta, then I add the mushrooms. Large skillet, cause you can't have too much room. Garlic pesto, tomato paste, Calabrian chili, season the taste. Order Blue Apron today.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Welcome back.
Doctors have long recommended exercise as an important part of healthy lifestyle, with most guidelines suggesting somewhere between 20 minutes and half an hour of moderate physical activity daily, which could include walking at a reasonable pace. It's also recommended that you take part in more rigorous exercise designed to strengthen muscles, and that becomes more important the older you get. The estimate is that about 2/3 of adults meet that standard in the UK, with about 25% of people being classified as inactive. Now, thanks to the growing trend of wearable devices, we're seeing a vast amount of new data on exercise, which suggests that any effort at all can have positive health benefits. They might include improving mental health, but can also have impact on heart disease and several types of cancer. Dr. Euan is a professor of Genomics and Cardiovascular Medicine at Stanford University and chair of its Department of Medicine. And he spoke to PBS this week about just how crucial exercise can be.
Basically, you will extend your life if you exercise. And in fact, when we've studied large populations, and groups have studied populations even up to 500,000 people, then 1 minute of exercise buys you 5 minutes of extra life, which is just remarkable. And in fact, if you do higher intensity exercise, which is safe for most people, you get 7 or 8 minutes of extra life. And so, as I like to tell my patients, you definitely have time to exercise because you're going to be extending your life. And it turns out that just a few minutes improvement in sleep, a few minutes of exercise a day, and a little improvement in your diet can add a whole year of life. And if you optimize each one of them, and this to me was the most remarkable thing, let's say you manage 7 or 8 hours of sleep a day, let's say you manage 30 to 40 minutes of exercise, could just be walking every day, and that you improve your diet to think about in the direction of mostly fruits and vegetables, then you can add 10 years to your life, 10 years.
And while you might think that diseases like cancer are something that older people get, there's been an alarming rise in the incidence of cancer in younger generations, particularly millennials. Over the last 30 years, the level of early onset cancers amongst people who are on under 50 has increased by almost 80% worldwide, and death from cancer in the under 50s has risen by 28%. The UK has seen an uptick in bowel cancers in younger patients, and science tells us that most cancers are driven by external factors, which can include things like our diet and physical activity. Dr. Sanjeev Kumar is a medical oncologist who studied at Cambridge and is now practicing at the Lifehouse Cancer Centre in Sydney, Australia.
We think that there's a big impact from environmental factors, be it what people are eating, people smoking, what people are drinking, the amount of exercise they're doing.
Depending on how online you are, the term brain rot may not mean much, but it turns out the less online you are, the better. The UK and various European countries are already moving towards a social media ban for young teens based on Australia's model, which was implemented last December. But research this week suggests that short-form social media content can have serious impact on your brain health and attention spans. Several of the big tech companies are currently in the middle of a court case in Los Angeles, facing accusations that they deliberately designed their sites to be addictive, and the research suggests the more short video content you watch, the shorter your attention span becomes. A meta-analysis of existing research has shown that consumption of short-form videos can lead to poorer cognition, reduced attention and increased anxiety, which has been best described as brain rot. The real concern is that for teens whose brains are still in a formative stage, this kind of exposure could cause real long-term implications in terms of cognitive abilities. Jonathan Haddett is the author of The Anxious Generation, who has also advised the UK government on teens and social media, and he thinks there's a real risk from unregulated access for kids to social media.
If we're looking at actual death toll, no. Not as many people have committed suicide and drug overdoses from Snapchat drugs as tobacco. But if we look at the number of lives diminished, the number of people whose lives are now worse and will be worse permanently for many of them, that is possibly most children. That is the short form. Now we're learning. In the book, I focused on mental health, and especially girls, and it's not most girls, but it's about a third are harmed by it, roughly. But the short form videos, I now believe, are harming the majority of children born on this planet since the late 1990s.
The government has been tightening up parental controls on social media, and a consultation process is underway on a social media ban for teens. So it was deeply ironic that this week, the Prime Minister Keir Starmer held his first ever press conference for influencers and creators at Downing Street. It's part of a government effort to reach a wider audience as younger voters drift away from traditional media platforms. But it seems bizarre that the PM may well end up on more short-form, brain-rotting content feeds as a result.
We made a promise to do things differently as a government, and we're following through on that. And one of the things that I think is most different now than it's been for years is the way in which people get their news and their information. That is changing. It's changing probably faster than most things. More and more people aren't just turning on the television or opening the newspaper. They're unlocking their phones. They're listening to you and people like you, watching you and turning to the platforms and the creators that they trust the most. And that's really important, because trust is really important in politics and it can be fragile.
That is a truly distinctive sound, a horse whinnying, but it turns out there is a bit of a mystery around how they make the noise. Scientists say that the neigh or whinny is used as a part of communication that horses will use to greet new friends, express delight at feeding time, or even find each other. But the process with which they create the noise has been a bit of a mystery. Now, a new study suggests that the way horses use their larynx is remarkably similar to the way that humans do. Elodie Mandel-Briffer is an associate professor of ecology and evolution at the University of Copenhagen, and she says the range of expression is quite remarkable.
Vocals are situated in the larynx. When they vibrate, that makes the low pitch sound, and that's exactly in the same way as we speak. After this sound is produced, there is also a very strong contraction above the larynx that leaves only a small opening, and that creates a whistle. It's exactly the same as speaking and whistling, or singing and whistling at the same time. They can really express the whole range of emotions possible, because they can express emotions in these 2 dimensions.
This has been the Sunday 7. Wherever you're listening, do us a favour and hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. with the regular Smart 7. Have a great rest of your weekend.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Youth mental health is a complex challenge that requires comprehensive solutions. We must strengthen after-school programs. We must make digital literacy tools available in our schools. We must work with mental health professionals to support children. And we must empower mentors, educators, and parents to keep kids happy. Learn more about our commitment to finding lasting solutions at empowerourfuturecoalition.com/solutions. Paid for by the Coalition to Empower Our Future.